The Ruinous powers who play the great game, introducing chaos to the universe at large, and entropy incarnate, the ultimate strength of willpower, enforcing itself upon another. Welcome back, ladies and animals, as we delve once more into the universes of Destiny and Warhammer 40k to pit Oryx, the Taken King, without his sisters Xivu-Arath and Savathun, against the four Chaos deities, Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and of course, Slaanesh. If you noticed in the last big 40k versus Destiny video, the Taken were entirely missing from both the Hive and the Witness's forces. Well, that was mostly a byproduct of my rampant ADHD missing out during the scripting process, but now I can claim it was a part of the plan all along, as we pit the Taken King and his brood against the personified ideas of battle, change, and avarice. How strong are each of these nebulous factions? How would they interact? And how similar are they in reality, or rather, in the absence of reality? So without further ado, let's get into it.
The rest await extermination. No. Gather them. I will take them all.
A millennium before humanity had left its caves on Earth, Oryx had come to be the most powerful being of all Hive creation, taking the powers gifted to the species by the worm deities of their homeworld and crafting it into his own ruinous design. By killing Akka, he instilled a new sense of complete knowledge within himself and the ability to take, which was instilled in him by the Witness. So, how are the Taken, these amorphous, blobbed versions of enemies we've seen before in Destiny, made? For the Witness, who seems to have developed this ability, it consists of ripping a being into an alternate dimension, known as the Ascendant Plane, which runs parallel to reality, much like how the Warp does the same. In this realm, the collective minds of the Witness converge and convince the being to come over to their side. Once returned to reality, the afflicted creature is covered in a blackish membrane of blight and imbued with the paracausal powers of darkness. A sense of divine loyalty is pledged to the Witness, and they collect new powers to be used in their creator's name. Now, the Witness has taken hundreds of worlds on a whim, but the Witness is an outstanding exception. Oryx, the Taken King, can do nearly the same, but on a much smaller scale. A massive question to our upcoming battle is whether or not creatures of the Hive, especially the Taken, are susceptible to chaotic corruption, or if demons can be taken in the inverse. We know that Guardians cannot be taken, as the light is the inverse of the darkness. Light is life, free will. The Taken are the opposite, broken down to their bare mechanics with no sense of freedom whatsoever. Even when once attempting to take a ghost, the Traveler instead had the ghost destroyed rather than even risk it. So, for as long as the Traveler is alive, the light cannot be corrupted. Even the Witness tried from within the Traveler and could not pull it off. But for those not immune to it, the act of taking is a sharpening like a kitchen knife. Impurities, jagged edges are cleaned away and sharpened to align with the will of the controller. In this instance, Oryx. What remains is the soul, the creature, but removed from its mind, from its free will. In a sense, I believe Chaos could corrupt the forces of the Taken in theory. See, the most prevalent way Chaos corrupts a soul is through their own failure of willpower. If you're strong enough in will, you cannot fall to chaos. So while the Taken could be corrupted in theory, they would not fall due to an undying loyalty to their creed that is whipped into them. Now, could chaos be capable of being taken? Well, it depends. Most demons in 40k are just physical manifestations of the Warp and their associated chaos god. They won't have a soul to be brought into the Ascendant Plane. That'd be like trying to take the light. It just wouldn't work. And if you could even try, they lack free will in the same way that the Taken do, so they'd be unable to voluntarily submit to the Taken. But for some, like most Chaos Space Marines or cultists who are merely augmented by Chaos but not quite full manifestations, they still have souls in real space, and could in theory fall to Oryx's taking. But of course, this is still a case-by-case basis and certainly not the rule, as others like the demon Primarchs are manifestations and as such, immune. So the strongest of demon and chaos kind would be immune from the Taken, whereas lesser powered cultists and marines could fall into Oryx's ranks. And on the flip side, the Taken are capable of slipping in theory, but aside from a few choice Taken who rank with some sense of self-authority, would be immune from Chaos's temptations, although regular Hive would likely be much more susceptible to Chaos's reaches, including the Thralls, Acolytes, and obviously Ogres.
Let the seas boil. Let the stars fall. Though it takes the last drop of my blood.
Now, there's only one way for each of these functions to kill one another. As we spoke about in the previous episodes about the Hive and Chaos, the only way to defeat each of them is with great effort. To kill Oryx, you'd have to become Ascendant, invade his throne world and kill him. To defeat the Chaos Gods, well, you'd have to end the universe, which for Oryx and his sword logic, on the path to the final shape, might just be possible. The sword logic in concept is social Darwinism. The strongest survive. In application, it is existence proved through action. I do, therefore I am. Oryx had slain his sisters, proving himself to be stronger and more cunning. He killed the Worm God, proving he could speak to the darkness directly, as they did, and so forth. This is what allows them to interact and carve out space in the Ascendant realm. It's what allows our Guardian to slay Crota and through sword logic prove that we are capable of Ascendance so that we may enter a throne world to face Oryx ourselves. So for Chaos to even try to eliminate Oryx, they would have to prove themselves Ascendant by killing the upper classes of Hive kind in the same way we had killed Crota to prove ourselves. Now the big question is whether or not greater demons or the demon Primarchs could come to this, or if only mortal beings can become Ascendant. We're not entirely sure how souls work or how they interact with the greater metaphysical functions of reality and destiny, outside of a few good guesses. So whether or not demons could even become Ascendant through sword logic, which states that life sustains through hardship, is up to the air. For me, I would say they cannot, because sword logic applies to life. I think the undeath forces of chaos would be ineligible from this process, locking them out from using sword logic on their own accord, meaning that unless Chaos whips up a sufficiently powerful mortal coil that can ascend and challenge Oryx in his throne world while also not submitting to the Taken while trying to do so. In order for Chaos to win, they'd need a champion akin to Horus, the heretical Primarch, in order to even attempt running Oryx's fade. But for the Hive, for Oryx and his fleet, their end goal is the death of Chaos. The death of complexity where simple order reigns supreme through sheer force of will, where the universe is sharpened, taken, and perfected into the final shape it will ever take. The perfect sword. The biggest issue for Guardians taking on Chaos is that they thrive off of the same complex and chaotic energies as the Ruinous gods through bomb logic. A system that is infinitely complex but also infinitely more powerful when perfectly aligned in just the right way. Kind of ironic in a way that the big bad of Warhammer seems to align with the Guardians of Destiny, and the Guardians' greatest enemy, or at least one of, is perfectly attuned to defeat Chaos in their complete control of reality at the end of everything.
Demon Hunters! Chaos cannot stand against us! For we are the Hammer!
In short, I think that in a universe hosted by the Taken King against the forces of Chaos, the Hive would come out on top, purely based on the integral workings of their creed and magical systems. The Chaos Gods cannot be killed, but they can be stomped out from a raging wildfire into the smoldering ashes of creation. Without a champion like Horus, Chaos cannot defeat such a powerful foe that is also mortal, for Oryx works on the same principles as the Emperor, who he himself could not be defeated by Chaos without Horus's intervention, and even still, exists in perpetuity. Oryx, in the Warhammer universe, would simply become a being on par with the Emperor pre-heresy, but without the ability to be corrupted in the same way that most Primarchs or mortal beings in Warhammer can be, making him perfect to be the king above all else that grinds the great game to a halt. And with that, concludes our journey into Chaos versus the Taken King. Let me know what you think down below and comment on who you believe is out on top. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel for even more coming every week. And as always, stay cool, have fun, be awesome. Buster out.